Prior to Twilight, First Aid and Safety, Adam had a 15-year career in the business processing outsourcing (BPO) industry, where he supported and partnered with Fortune 500 companies such as Intel, GE, Cisco, Yahoo, Capital One, and Microsoft. Adam was born and raised in Rapid City, where he still lives with his wife and his mostly grown three children. He enjoys anything in the Black Hills as well as a good hot tub soak. So with that, I give you Adam Braun. Sorry.
I haven't done this technology thing in a while. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll project as well. So, hey, thank you. It's great to have this opportunity, and I appreciate sharing the morning with all of you. So, my name is Adam Braun. I'm co-owner with my awesome wife, Leah, of Twilight First Aid and Safety, located right here in Rapid City, South Dakota. I guess today, I think the charter for this is to kind of go through my journey, my experience, and what brought me here to talk to you about my passion for ibuprofen and bandages, my newfound passion for those things. So I guess I'll start out a little bit about me. So I am born and raised right here in Rapid City, South Dakota. Very proud of that. By the way, I've never met anybody from Vail, so that's pretty cool.
Very exotic.
I attended Central High School, Black Hills State University in Spearfish. Graduated from there with a mix of business and biology, and really didn't have a plan like nobody does at that stage. Floated around for a little bit, tuned skis, got into mountain biking, got married obviously, and my wife was a teacher, and I just thought maybe I should get a legitimate job. I worked at Shields, and if you've ever known anybody that works at Shields, they've got a great employee discount. And my check would be basically a bill for what I owe for the next paycheck. So it was time to get legit. Didn't know what I wanted to do. We were kind of tied to the area for family and those types of things. And as we know, Rapid City can be a challenging environment at times if you don't have a clear path. Randomly, a friend of mine, actually a roommate from college, told me about a job at a call center called ASI that was opening up in town. And I just said, I'll give it a go, threw in an application, no resume, anything like that. Got a call back, showed up there, and just how long ago it was. We sat in a room somewhat like this. They had a great facility. And, it was a subsidiary of GE Appliances, so they had a lot of funding and were doing things really right back in Jack Welch Six Sigma days, which I'll come to find out later. So I sat here with 50 people or whatever, and we had computers. We had to do a typing test, and luckily I took keyboarding so I could get through that. But it was a PC, and I had never used Windows before. I didn't admit that on the application. I said, yeah, I've got computer experience, but it was a word processor with whatever. My friend leaned over and he said, what's the little X do in the corner, the window, the X to close a window? And I said, I don't know. And he clicked it and the window went away. We were like, oh no, we're in big trouble. Anyway, navigated through that. I ultimately landed a job there selling service contracts on the phone across the country. So inbound sales, it was a really great experience for me to be exposed to just a whole different world. Again, no plan there. I'm just going to ride this as far as it goes. Had the opportunity to move up fairly quickly because I was class 1 there, which was a big deal at the time, we thought, and was able to move into a management position within a couple of years. And had the opportunity to interact with a lot of different corporate people, that type of thing, that I don't think I really valued at the time. Part of what I'm going to talk about today is just those things that happen that you don't really notice, or at the time they're very meaningful, but or it's a direction change that you didn't know was happening, and turns out in hindsight they're a pretty valuable thing. So I worked up. I was, fairly senior there. 9/11 happened. I remember that very quickly. We're coming up on that time of year. I remember brushing my teeth, going in. We had this little TV in the kitchen, and one of the towers is on fire or whatever. And brushing my teeth, and then the other plane hits, and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. And then my first thought was, I got to get to work because we've got all these people coming in. I've got, something's going to happen. I got to work, and there was not a call coming in. Normally, it was at a Tuesday, it's early in the week, whatever it was. Hundreds of calls. We've got calls in queue. It's crazy. There wasn't a call. We got maybe 2 calls all day, and maybe 100 calls the next day. One of those events that just really crystallized for me kind of my journey, and I often think about that this time of year. Where it impacted me, however, is the corporate folks got very risk averse. And, at a different time, obviously. They started to pull back from some of their capital expenditures, all those types of things. I ultimately ended up getting laid off from that job not too long after that. Got an evaluation, keep doing what you're doing. 2 months later, I was out. I was afforded a severance package, which I thought was great. I didn't understand how wonderful that really was and how that allowed us to, kind of do some things. But I came out of that and thought, well, this is really a great opportunity. I've got a little bit of a network. I've got some opportunities based on that, either with General Electric or some of our partners. Well, it turned out I couldn't capitalize on any of those. So, I tapped into even older networks. I was a service advisor at McKee Ford and almost starved to death. I was an insurance adjuster at Progressive, and still, when I hear the severe thunderstorm warning signal go off, I pucker up because I was the hail guy. I had to go to Pine Ridge and write a hail estimate for a car, and it was just busy times, lots of windshield time. And I was miserable, frankly, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Really, the next step was to leave Rapid City. When we didn't want to do that, we were deep ties. We got a call from a guy I worked with at ASI, said, hey, I know you're struggling. It's pre-Facebook, so I couldn't post any of this. I don't know how you heard about it. Said, you should look at this opportunity. I'm working for this company. It's called Sipes. We run call centers. You happen to have worked in call centers for a few years. So checked it out, landed that job in a global operations role, supporting all those companies that were in my bio. And I did that for 12 years. And what that afforded me was the opportunity to earn a not typical Rapid City salary. And it was a good salary. And again, I didn't know that necessarily. But I worked from home mostly. I traveled a ton. That was the downside while our kids were growing and whatnot. Got to travel all over the world. And I say got in quotations. It's the Philippines, it's Costa Rica, it's El Salvador, it's Romania. It's, all of those places. I got fabulous frequent flyer miles, and I was platinum everything for a while. And it seemed like a great thing for sure. And we reaped the benefit. I bought many tickets to Europe and whatnot, so we were able to travel on that. Again, so I'm navigating through this, moving up in the sort of corporate structure, and doing really a good job. And I can look anybody in the eye and say, I did a really good job. I made our clients a lot of money. I made our company a lot of money. My feedback was really good. And there again, I'm going along. It's kind of an interesting story. We were going to a state hockey tournament. Our son played hockey. And when you're a remote employee, you get a little weird. Sometimes you get a little nonchalant with some of these things. So I had a one-on-one with my boss. I'm like, I'm not going to stick around and wrap it. I'll just do it on the road, and I'll kind of just have a light one-on-one with him. So I dial in for the call outside of Wasta. So coming down Wasta Hill, down the river there. And hey, Kevin, how's it going? It's like, oh, it's okay. I've got Torsha was her name. She was the HR VP. Like, oh, that's weird. Then I lose the call right then. Got down by the river, And I look over at Leah, she's driving, and she's like, I'm like, I think I might be getting fired. So anyway, I connect the call, and ultimately I did get laid off for some unknown reason. Budget, who knows? I never really resolved that. I bring that up because at that stage, I was really at the top of my game. I had built an amazing network all around the world of professionals, really good contacts at Fortune 500 companies, et cetera. And again, I was afforded a severance package that allowed me a little bit of time to navigate. And I sat back when that happened and figured out, boy, I just can't do this again. I could just jump right into the fire and get another one of these jobs, but I'll be out in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. Maybe I'll be at an age where I'm not as marketable, maybe the economy, et cetera. So it was one of those opportunities really to step back and kind of think about, what do I want to do? When you work from home in those situations, and I don't know if any of you have or whatnot, I talked about getting weird. For Christmas, I got pajama pants. They had fireflies on them or something, and I opened them up, and our youngest daughter said, "Oh, you got new work pants." And it's one of those clarifying moments, like, oh, maybe she isn't really getting a good perspective on what work really is here. So I kind of took that and decided I'm not engaged in the local community. Born and raised here, and I don't know anything that's going on. I have no local network. I've got nobody to call of any consequence that can help me out in this situation. And I set up a office at the garage. It's a co-working space here in Rapid City on 4th Street. Many of you, I'm sure, have been there. There's different events there. Just to engage and see about networking and try to re-enter back into society a little bit. There's a guy there named Tony Ortiz. He had kind of the same thing. They knew a little bit about him. He sold Band-Aids and ibuprofen. Didn't really get what his deal was, but he ended up being my neighbor, and we hung out a little bit, and I shared my experience. I talked about all of these things, and he said, well, geez, I've been looking for somebody that has a skill set that might be awesome, because I'm kind of stuck. I've been doing this for 22 years. You should come, just look at my business and see what you think. So I looked at it, and he said, well, don't just look at it. Why don't you work with me? You're not doing anything. I'll give you a salary, and we'll figure this out. So I jumped in with that. Figured out pretty quickly it was a really interesting business, and that Tony was really tired, and he was really stuck. And it was kind of a kismet type thing where the universe kind of brought us together at the right time, I think, to have that conversation. Another kind of theme, and sorry, I've lost my thread there. Another theme is asking, so when I would hang out with Tony, when I learned more about his business, when I saw what he was kind of experiencing, I knew he was stuck. I knew he had an issue. I just randomly, and this really isn't my deal, I said, you should sell this thing to me. I think we could make that work. And he's like, oh my gosh, thank you for asking me that question. I would love to sell this thing to you. I thought nobody would want to buy this. I don't know if it has any value, et cetera. So that's a bit of my journey to get to Twilight, I guess. The thread there is pay attention to those opportunities and don't be afraid to ask the question, I guess, that you want the answer to. I'm going to switch over and talk a little bit about Twilight and what our deal is around here. It's a fairly, what did I do, Ashley?
It's like the big X posted down.
Yeah, exactly. I'm having a flashback. Which one do I call? All right, so Twilight First Aid and Safety, we're your on-site first aid and safety partner, and the key being on-site. So we work primarily out of vans. This is route sales on-site with various industrial customers. We sell and service ENC and OSHA certified first aid and safety supplies throughout South Dakota into Wyoming. We try North Dakota a little bit and Iowa, so primarily South Dakota. Got that passion for bandages and ibuprofen that we bring to the job every day, obviously. Our differentiator is the fact that we're on site. We sell a commodity, we sell bandages. They're not even a name brand, they're a high quality, but they're not Band-Aid brand, et cetera. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on Zoro, you can get them at Walgreens. Our differentiator is that we're on site. We come to your location and take care of that for you. This is the core of the business. It's a 4-shelf first aid cabinet. You navigate your workspaces, you walk by these all the time. They're sort of ubiquitous, but nobody really thinks about them. Oftentimes, if you're to open one of those cabinets, it will have a candy bar wrapper in it, some moth and whatever. What we do is basically help you maintain that, set it and forget it. So there are OSHA requirements depending on the industry. Well, every business has an OSHA requirement to provide some sort of first aid in the absence of an infirmary or a medical facility on site. Obviously, nobody has that. And that's 5 employees or larger. So really what we aim to do is to help you manage that. Our typical customers, good customers for us, excuse me, are construction companies, large contractors, mines are really good, hospitals, educational facilities, tribal customers. We take all comers as a small business, but there is definitely a sweet spot. We actually support the first aid here, so you see Twilight first aid and safety boxes here. Product categories. So the core of our business is the first aid. We need and want your first aid business. But when we're at these places, there's always these safety items. So if you think about an industrial customer, there's work gloves, there's safety glasses, there's high vis. So any construction site, any mine, any factory that you go into, if we're there to sell the first aid, we may as well try to teach you some of the safety stuff as well. So this is one of the trade shows that we set up with a number of topics, I guess. I think that's it. So, yeah, that's it. I didn't think about it.
That's okay. You don't have to have it in, so you're not done yet because we still have questions.
Yeah. So please ask questions.
So, all right, we have a mic in the back and I have a mic up here, so we're going to pass them around so you can ask questions. These types of questions can be anything about the passion, their marketing strategies, their future goals, anything like that. So anything that you feel like is applicable, ask it. If Adam's uncomfortable, he'll say, no, I don't want to answer that. So, okay. So who would like to open us up with the first question? Rich, you look like you're dying to ask a question.
Hi, Adam. I'm just curious, when you had that first conversation with me, like, you should sell me this business, right? And maybe at the time it was sort of off the cuff and thinking about it. I was wondering if you could walk me through just a little bit about when you really sat down to think about, is this good? Does this have legs? Right?
Sure.
What was your thought process there? How did you really think about it?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing, I went through that soul searching on, can I do this again? Can I give my talents over to a sort of soulless corporation? And I'm not anti-corporation, but I know about the bottom line. I know about shareholders. That drives everything. Can I add value? Can that fit into my life? In understanding Tony's situation and the financials of the business, I thought, well, geez, I have a skill set. It turns out I can apply this in this fairly modest operation here. And that bottom line, that all comes to my family, or that comes to the business. And whereas before I made a lot of money for other people, get a little spiff for it or whatnot. If I make a little bit more money for myself, obviously that comes to me. So that crystallized for me. The opportunity was there. It was nothing I'd ever considered before. I don't come from a long line of entrepreneurs or small business owners, so it was definitely a out of character approach. But just knowing, having the visibility into the business, Tony was able to open. He showed me warts and all, everything that was going on. I knew that there were problems, that there were opportunities there I could address, and I could definitely bring my skills to bear.
Have you gotten into any of the coal mines in the surrounding states or anything like that?
Yeah, so not yet. We're actually, that's an expansion project we've got going into July. So what you find with a lot of those customers is they're very corporate managed, so they'll have some sort of supplier procurement, and they're shipping things. Where we come in, it's all those side of the desk things that everybody's asking. It's usually HR, or there's a safety person or whatnot. You get to do this job, and then every once in a while there's going to be some stuff that comes from corporate. You got to make sure all that stuff in the cabinet, there isn't anything expired, and keep it up to date, etc. One person has a job and then 4 side of the desk jobs. We want to take one of those 4 side of the desk jobs off their hands, basically. So there is some opportunity there. I don't know if we're going to be able to push it or not. On the mine side, it's kind of interesting. So OSHA, everybody's heard of that, occupational safety and health. Well, there's a mine equivalent. They've got a lot more teeth. So on the mine side, it's called MSHA. And so for instance, in a cabinet, if there's expired ibuprofen, 1 packet of expired ibuprofen, it's the same write-up basically as a broken windshield on a piece of equipment or a frayed cable or something like that. So it holds the same weight no matter what. So that's the value proposition that we bring in. We'll help you manage that. Make sure that you're always in compliance with the MSHA guidelines, which is a scary thing. Talking about 35 cabinets spread out across a bed night somewhere. So.
I can speak aloud if that's all right. I actually want to just
go off of that a little bit. How do you manage all of your clients and make sure that you're checking all of their cabinets on time? Do you have some sort of data system?
Sure. And that's a great question and an opportunity that we haven't figured out fully. CRM, customer relationship management software. We've been experimenting with that, haven't found anything that really works. We're very manual, so it's very much spreadsheets, Google Calendar based, and follow-up. We use QuickBooks, so a lot of reporting out of QuickBooks. Obviously, I wish there was a lot more data out of it, but that's primarily how we do it. So each route person is responsible for their customer subset. I provide some oversight of cyber support, but our main guy Joel, he's just got it down. He knows that every other week I'm doing this, every month I'm doing this, every quarter I'm doing this. So, but it's a significant opportunity for us. And they say, on the MSHA side, when it's scary, that's where it gets scary. Because I don't know for sure that cabinet in Colony, Wyoming. Pretty sure we went through the whole thing. Pretty sure we know when the next thing expires, but don't have good technology to back that up yet. So.
What is your employee base, and how do you keep them wanting to work for you?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we've got a mix. So the route people, primarily the model is it's full commission. So they get a significant percentage of everything they sell. So the motivation for those guys, as long as you hire that skill set and that focus, is the more they sell, the more they make. So those are a little bit easier, I think, in some ways. Although managing a full commission person is definitely a challenge. I hadn't done that before. I managed commission programs, but not full commission. You got to watch. You got to rein them in a lot. We've got a service component as well, and you look for a skill set or an approach that is focused on customer service, likes interacting with people, is a relationship builder, etc. And we've found that if you find the right person, they're motivated because they love going out and being social. It's really fun, and we don't give ourselves a lot of credit, or we diss South Dakota that there's not a lot going on around here. There is, in manufacturing, and we go to amazing facilities just over the hill here. AccuPress, not a customer of ours, hopefully they will be. They make amazing precision brake press units. They're like a semi-truck long. Their customers are like Mercedes-Benz and Dodge and whatever. So they custom bend metal in these machines. We've got amazing cattle feed producers in Belfouche. They're awesome. Walk in there and it smells like a molasses cookie factory. Then you find out, kind of what's in it and whatever. It's not as appetizing. And then you see all the flies and it's like, oh, okay. Not an FDA facility. So anyway, to answer your question, that's really, you got to hire the right person, and then it kind of feeds their passion, I guess.
You would think I would know this as your spouse, but I don't. We haven't talked about this. I have a lot of conversations with people about, our kids are 21, 18, 16. So they're those ages where the pressure is on. What are you going to do with your life? And I tell them all the time, I still may do another career after Twilight, after Harney Business Group. I don't know, keeping my options open. Have you ever thought about what you would do if it wasn't Twilight? We get sick of it, we're like, let's sell this thing. What would you do?
Yeah. So this journey, by the way, we've owned Twilight for 3 years, so we've got a bit of experience, but I don't know. When you own a small business, we happen to have real estate involved. We've got, there's all these things that you kind of don't consider. There's potentially, we've been exposed to some real estate opportunities that are really interesting. It might be fun to chase some of those things down. I don't know. In the back of my mind, I've always got a bit of a backup plan that I can tap into my network that I've built. There's always people looking for a skill set that mine's a little stale, but I think I could tune up and jump back into the BPO industry. But I think that wouldn't be my preference at this point. It turns out I think I'm deinstitutionalized, so I like owning my own schedule, although you work all the time, but it's just a better way to go, for sure. Is it cool if I ask you a question? So, Callie, you've hit on really a sore spot or a pain point. We're modest. We live in the best of times and the worst of times as far as technology. There's a million things out there, right? You can take things off the shelf and piece them together. That was always my thought. Like, well, we'll take this and then we'll pair it up with this because it hooks in or whatever. Turns out it is maddening. So yeah, HubSpot hooks into this, that hooks into that. Well, making that work, and more importantly, finding the time to do it. I've got a bit of a skill set for that, but I'm like 62%. What do you do? How do you manage the technology? You do, right? And that's so
support another local business.
Yeah, but it does hold you back from other opportunities, right? And I think that's what's that higher. Yeah.
Support another local business.
Find the talent. Yeah.
Right.
It's way more efficient.
Yeah.
Than all the time you spend beating your head against the wall.
Yeah. Do it yourself. Yeah.
What changes have you done? How much growth have you seen? And what changes do you foresee Twilight making in the future for bigger growth?
Yeah. So thanks. So changes, Tony was paper, 3 carbon copy invoice, write it out, leave the pink copy. He was old school QuickBooks, didn't use any technology. There's no way to look up anything in the field. iPhones were good, but it wasn't tied into anything Twilight related. So we've established electronic invoicing through a QuickBooks product. So you've got your smartphone, you can do all of your invoicing, look up pricing, all of those types of things, provide service to the customer and email it right there. He was always resistant. He thought everybody wanted a paper copy. As soon as we brought it up, all the customers were like, oh my gosh, why do you not email this stuff? So that's one thing. We brought technology here. Google Drive, all of those types of things that are kind of table stakes things. We integrated those into the business process. We've documented a lot of things. So I mentioned that Tony didn't understand the value in the business. We didn't have much value because nothing was written down, nothing was documented. It was all just kind of loosey-goosey a little bit. So we spent time to get those things documented. Should there be an opportunity, somebody like me comes along that thinks they can do it better and makes us an offer that we can't refuse, I want to make sure that we've built that value into it so it stands out a little bit. Growth-wise, we've year over year, so last year was 17% revenue growth. I think this year we're 22. Leah was involved in a Goldman Sachs program. We put together a business plan over the next 3 years to grow our revenue to $1 million plus. So we're just short of $1 million. We'll see $1 million here in the next couple of years, I guess. I answer everything.
You indicated that you saw a lot of opportunity. Sorry.
You indicated you saw a lot of opportunities as you were looking at making this plunge. What came to bear, and what my question would be, what were the surprises? And obviously, you look at things as much as you can, but there's, I'm sure, always something like, wow, I didn't expect that. So
yeah. Yeah, surprises. It's interesting. Yeah, there's 1 million of them. Surprises, as part of the financing to buy Twilight, we had to buy a piece of real estate in Sturgis. Awesome building. It was really a nice building, not convenient for us. Obviously, we live here. Our customer base was rapid in the south, so we engineered a move out of that, and we're surprised to find that you can't just lease a building like that. So it's that vacant, it's hard to sell, et cetera. Those things that you kind of don't consider, that aren't part of the core business, but it can definitely be a drag. Surprise in the business, we don't have contracts. So if we win your business, we have to continue to earn and win that business every single time. Everything you buy belongs to the customer. We've got no service fees. Basically, we have to find the opportunity and find the value to be able to bring you product. I was very concerned about that. I think we've lost in the 3 years, I've got the data, but it's a handful. It's 3 or 4 customers, maybe 6, I guess. And some of those were, they went out of business or whatever. They're generally small. But being able to maintain that has been a nice surprise, I guess, despite not having a little bit of a poking rule. So, and I think that's a testament to the value that our service brings. The customers that we do have do understand that they've got a job to do, and it's not counting, checking every ibuprofen to see if it's expired, et cetera. So the ones that don't get that, and there are busybodies in every office, and God love them, but they love to make a run to Sam's Club or whatever, and that's great. But there's a significant expense to that business, and when they get kind of woke to that, to use that, that's when we like to be able to come in and help them deal with that, I guess.
So Adam, who is your biggest competitor? Is it the Sam's Club at Amazon you're talking
It's
about?
Amazon, yep.
Is there anybody local that does the same thing that you do?
No, we've got a bit of a monopoly, so that's another aspect that reinforced going with the business. We're in a weird geography. All of our vendors do this as well, so they'll have route sales. They can't imagine. I mean, I'll drive to Eagle Butte, and I talk about how many hundreds of miles in a day and whatever. And oh my gosh. We went to one of our vendors in Elkhart, Indiana, and you drive 6 miles and there's 400 customers. There's all these industrial customers and whatever. So they're much more concentrated. So there just isn't a business model that they see. Large suppliers are not at all interested. So.
You may have already addressed this, but is there any kind of state mandate or requirement to have first aid kits or sets in your local businesses?
Yeah, so depending, OSHA is funny. So we're all subject to, if you have a business with 5 or more employees, you're subject to OSHA guidelines. So OSHA does mandate that first aid will be made available, readily available. What's that mean? It's up for interpretation. It could be a box of bandages, and you could say that that's good. In that vein, though, unfortunately or fortunately, regulation is our friend with a lot of those things. So larger construction companies, there definitely are. There's OSHA requirements that carry a lot more weight, say fall protection if you're looking at a steel structure or whatever. So we do reference and leverage those, and they can be an opportunity for us. So.
But 5 or more is the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I actually thought of another question I've never asked you. So when people have asked me about Twilight, they're like, what was that like when you bought it and all this came together? And I say very genuinely, it's like having a baby, moving, starting a new job, buying a house, maybe getting divorced, all at one time. Like every life event that you could ever put together. Has that been your sense of it as well?
No, it was pretty easy. I don't really remember much about it. Well, it's funny when we did that, and so it was going to be July 31st, 2015. Like, okay, cool. Wow. 70th, 75th rally. No, 70th, whatever. This is the big one. Is that 75th? Oh yeah, 80th is coming up. 75th rally. We had a German foreign exchange student a couple of years before. She wanted to bring her family out, and we said, okay, cool, just not this week. And they say, ta-da, we're here this week. We got all of these things going on, and then we got to host this German family. We got to get up at 4 a.m. to avoid traffic getting into Sturgis, and it was one of those things like, oh my God. And we're freaked out. We don't know. We knew about cash flow, we knew the definition of it, but you're freaked out when all of your money comes in checks. You're like, holy cow, what are we gonna do? So we gotta get that money in the bank. Like that was our biggest focus, and the checks were sitting in Sturgis. So yeah, there's definitely a stressful situation that you think you're ready for, but you're not. You're absolutely not. So yeah, thanks for bringing that one.
And how do you stay on top of the regulations, the changes? I've been involved with MSHA, myself, and the CFRs. And how do you keep on top of the changes? Yeah, so there's a couple of organizations we belong to, Associated General Contractors. They've been a pretty good resource for us, the CIC Construction Industry Center. On the MSHA side, so Horse happens to be one of our good customers. We've got really good contacts there on the safety group. I stay in regular contact with them on any updates. MSHA comes around all the time, and it's sort of individual. There's these, if you read the any OSHA guideline, it's mad. It's a lot of shall or may or should. Like those carry weight, but you don't know which ones the particular inspector or whatever is really going to hit on. So it's really staying in contact with the customer,
getting that feedback from whoever is regulating that and seeing where things are at. I've reached out to MSHA directly, not very satisfying. I don't know why, but they generally reference, go to our website, and it's impossible to really dig into generally what your question is. And it's goofy stuff. We had a van total. That's another thing. So just the things you got to deal with, you don't think about it, but one of our employees got on rally this year, he pulled out in front of him, totaled a van. Of course, he was a little bit hurt, so just dealing with all that. But then you're like, oh no, we've got to set up a van with all this stuff to go on a mine. So then I asked, what do we need to do to get this van set up? Is there anything new? And there's 4 different, you need a green flag, you need a yellow and whatever. So I still don't know. We don't have a van yet, but I don't know. I think we're just going to put a bunch of flags on it and a bunch of beacons and sirens. And that'll be like the Ghostbusters.
All right, last question.
This kind of ties into, this kind of ties into Leah's question. So you kind of described that first week of sheer panic or terror. I guess that's what I heard. After 3 years, have those peaks and valleys leveled out, or are you still experiencing moments of panic? I don't know if this is going to work type of feeling.
Only every day on some level. We're better at, we've smoothed out those peaks and valleys. So for instance, again, small business cash flow is king. Payroll, there's all of those things. You plan as well as you can, but there's always those things that you just don't think about. The first tax year, it's a little bit slower. Business is a little bit slower. You kind of plan on that or whatever. We just had a lot of cash needs, a lot of cash flowed out of the business, and it was white knuckle. I mean, it definitely was terrifying. So we got through that. We planned better for that, but also in your own business, I guess, you just got to think about it different. Before I always had the paycheck, I had the bonus, I was always going to be there. We have to pull money out of the business every once in a while for ourselves. And, that's part of the plan or whatever. Or you just lean out for a little bit if you're wanting to invest in something or you've got unexpected expense, that type of thing. So that mind shift has been really the key. And I'm not there. I'm totally not, but we're a little bit better at it, I think. So. The big ask, so we have a little machine, this Twilight machine makes money. It's not fully utilized. So advice or input in business development, we're a little bit cold call-y, we're a little bit network based. Winning a customer is really hard. Some innovative ideas to get with the right decision maker, the right contact within one of our target markets to help land that business. Because we swing for a lot of them and we land very few. So.